Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me on my second episode of my podcast Salon Confidential. And look who is in my chair today is the one and only Stephen Webster. Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me. How are we?
I'm very good, thank you. Yeah.
Perfect. So we go straight into the hair questions because obviously I need to talk about hair. I'm a hairdresser and I don't know much else. So I think that's very important. So first question I normally ask is, who is your hair icon?
Hairdressing icon.
No, hair icon, hair icon, like celebrity icon.
Oh my word. I don't know if I've got a hair icon. Someone with plenty of it, that would be for sure. But you know, when I think back a bit, and we have to go back a bit to get to that point, I remember taking a photograph of Brian Ferry to my barber because it wasn't a hairdresser, and that was probably about 1974,
Right.
and saying I want to look like that.
So he was your icon back
To
then.
be honest, for the barber in Gravesend, he did not a bad job. I mean, you know, I don't know if anyone would have stopped me and said, "Wow, Brian Ferry." I don't know, but I think he did. From the photograph, he did a good job.
Because now it's so different, actually, anyway, with the whole barber thing and all of this. So when someone comes in now and wants a fade, I know what it is, but I'm not trained to do that. But there is this barber thing where they come in and I want a 0 there and a 1 there, and I just panic. And I think you can see the panic in my eyes because I'm not trained. Ever had a really bad haircut? Like, what was the worst experience?
No, I did have a bad haircut, and I used to live in Santa Barbara in California,
Right.
and I had long hair, and I would save up my hair for when I was going somewhere that wasn't Santa Barbara. And I can't remember what happened or what even came over me. I think I must have been spiked or something, because I let this woman cut my hair, and she basically gave me a mullet. And it wasn't in a period when mullet was remotely cool in any way. And I remember going back into my workshop and people looking at me and asking me what had happened.
Now it would be trendy. You would be like, hey,
Honestly, I
Stephen.
didn't have an answer for it. It was so terrible, and it took such a long time to grow out. I don't know why. I think time stood still during my mullet months, and that was definitely as far as I'm concerned, it was my worst haircut.
It's actually funny thing is, everyone I ask that question, everyone goes back to the 80s, early 90s. It's quite funny that do you actually think, it's a good question, like, do you think that you found your way more with your hair now? Like, I think as we get older, we kind of found our look. Or
Yeah, I think you get, you know, you it's funny because I was looking at Paul Smith's got his 50th or 60th or something out. He got big anniversary, and I've met Paul a few times, and you know, Paul looks older version of the Paul Smith that I think I probably met maybe 35, 40 years ago, and that's because he's kept that, and in a way, I suppose I've somewhat kept that.
Yeah.
My hair is a bit shorter now because it would look a bit ridiculous if it was much longer than this, but you know, I don't know that I would have short hair, not really, unless it was really a necessity. But I suppose you kind of go with.
But it works. I mean,
it works for you in a way that's part of your expectations as well. You know, if I said to my wife about getting she'd probably go, no, what's wrong with what it is, kind of thing. I think, you know, maybe.
Does she get involved, beautiful Asya? Does she get involved with your hairstyle?
She tells me if my beard's too long. And that's about it. Yeah, she'll say. No, actually, because I think we're probably going to get onto this, but Nicky Clark cuts my hair right now, and he has for many, many years. And she will ask me, was that one of the trips where he actually cut your hair or just made scissor noises around the back of your head?
Which we all do.
Yeah, and I don't have an answer for that. I was just said, what do you think? I think he trimmed it.
Because women get involved a lot, actually, with their husband's hair, and the other way around. But the other way around, it's more that men don't want their wives or girlfriends have short hair.
Yes.
So when they have long hair, they always get involved and say, don't cut your hair short. But that's actually my next question, was actually like about your relationship to your hairdresser. And you just mentioned Nicky Clark is cutting your hair for a long time, I think, right?
Yeah, maybe maybe 25 years, I suppose. That's quite a long time.
Have you ever seen anyone else? I'm not trying to win you over to come to see me,
Yeah,
by
yeah,
the
no,
way,
of
but
course, but not since then, because I mean he's made it very, very clear that we are a partnership on my Barnet,
marriage.
and and I'm very happy with that
Yeah.
because you know I do get special treatment. I mean I go to his house for a start, and I always he's got a thing of making me a margarita before we start.
Now we are talking.
I'm not a big fan of margaritas, but don't tell him.
But he will maybe listen to this, and then you will never get a margarita again.
Mortified if he knew that. But I love the sentiment of it, and that works. Yeah.
But also, he's a very famous hairdresser. I mean, when I moved here in 2000, oh my God, it was all about Nicky Clark and John Frieders and all
Yeah,
of that.
yeah.
So obviously that helps. So I would take a margarita
Yeah.
for
And he has a good head of hair. He's exactly the same age as me, and I figure that's always a good sign, right?
yeah. And you know what? I mean, we know each other well enough, I think, that I know obviously what you do. You are a jeweler, and you know, I know a lot about what you've done currently, right? Or what you're doing right now. We get to that later. But what I don't know, I've done some of my research now, so about your history. And I would like to know more about how did you actually start doing jewelry?
Well, first of all, is this series 2? Because we could probably take this to series 5, just the two of us. But
Okay.
but partly I say that because I've been next year is 50 years
Right.
of not me, 50 years of being a jeweler, which is, I mean, people look at you, what? Who does something for 50 years, you know?
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate that when I was 16, I went to art school because I couldn't think of anything else. And I went to do fashion. And to be honest, you know, times were very different then. You could kind of look at art school. You were already a little bit of a reject if you went to art school because it meant you weren't very good at anything else, right?
Yeah.
So I was fortunate that I could sort of look around the college and saw something called jewelry, which I just thought, wow, this looks like something amazing. You know, I mean, people were making what looked like treasure. You know, even if it was art school treasure.
Yeah.
And that was it. So I swapped. And then that led to a kind of a 5-year apprenticeship, which I did in Hatton Garden, which was then the hub of jewelry in London. And then I sort of say this a lot to young people now, you know, is when they ask me about being, you know, a jeweler, it was very important for me to be an expert at my profession, you know. And I think nowadays there's definitely people are more looking for a shortcut. You go, how you know, there isn't, as far as I'm concerned, there's no shortcut, right? It's just
Yeah.
like, this is what my advice is: get a training if you can. And I know that can be tricky, but once you've got that, you become really useful. You're like a tool yourself, you know.
Yeah.
And quite soon after I'd finished my apprenticeship, I was like 21, 22, and someone came to London, and I thought he was American because he sounded American, but he was Canadian. And he offered to fly me to Canada, which, you know, was in itself something quite extraordinary. And he offered me a job because he was looking for a jeweler, you know. And I spent 3 years there, which to be honest, if you're not Canadian, to go to Canada for 3 years is not bad. There should be a medal for that because it snowed on my birthday, and my birthday is August the 13th, right? So that means
you need to
I was living in the Rocky Mountains,
need to get a medal for that.
western side of Canada. But I learned how to ski. It had some upsides. But I think that then led me to Santa Barbara, where I really was able to cut my teeth, if you like, as a more confident jeweler come designer. Because before that, I'd say I was a jeweler. I was no way a designer. The industry I was in wasn't driven by design. It was driven by craftsmanship. And then I had sort of full exposure, if you like, but by that time I'd been, you know, 10 years or more as a jeweler. And so the people I was with, Santa Barbara, wanted me to be a creative designer jeweler. And that kind of panned out. And in 1984 or something, you know, I was making jewelry for this shop in Santa Barbara, And the manager came out and said, "Oh, that ring you made last week, Elizabeth Taylor's just bought it." And I said,
No
"You've got to
way.
be kidding me, right?"
That's the answers I need. Bring on the celebrities. I love it.
At a moment, I was like, yeah, I mean, you have to be kidding, because I would have designed it, made it, I'd have done everything on it, you know, and
That's
and
amazing.
then she bought a pair of earrings and a bracelet to go with it. I mean, partly I was living in Santa Barbara, right, which is still, you know, this sort of, it's just full of
Celebs.
types.
Yeah.
But it was earlier days. But, you know, I think back in those, over my period there, you know, I made things for Goldie Hawn, for the Douglas family, that's Kirk, Michael, you know, etc. Just because they all lived there, and we were the most creatively advanced jeweler in town.
Right.
You know, there was the Rolex guy and the diamond guy, but
Yeah.
we had this creative edge which I was driving, and so it was a great period to be a young guy in a place like that. And I think also, you know, in America, there's this different respect for people's crafts.
Yeah.
You really are
yeah.
treated like an artist, and I'd never encountered that in my time in England. I know I'd been younger, but real, you know, like you're invited to things because you're what you are.
But is it that different to here? I mean, you're invited to everywhere.
Yeah, but that's a bit different. That's because I think we've got a profile, and I've got, you know, shops and stuff. It's different,
But you have
just,
to get that first as well.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
think for being purely what you were, just being a jeweler,
right,
and people wanted a bit of that.
right.
And it does really help. It's not like I was a super confident person. It really helped me build that for when I finally came back here, to a very different place than I'd left, because by then it was sort of the early 90-ish. And, you know, I'd left 10 years before, but I didn't know anybody. So I had to kind of like build from scratch, but I kind of knew what to do. You know, I'd like build jewelry, get on a plane, go back to Santa Barbara, sell it.
Right.
And I quite liked doing that. I
Right.
did it for about 6 years until I met Asia,
Right.
who thought, well, there must be easier ways of making a living. I quite liked that. But she was right as well. There was
Yeah.
a different way to do it.
Yeah.
And then we set up with a tiny shop on Duke Street in Marylebone, which was a very forgotten neighborhood
Yeah.
at that time.
Not
And,
anymore.
cheap.
Not anymore.
So that, I mean, that's like my early days.
Yeah.
That.
So, but what I find quite interesting now, so do you think like it gave you lots of confidence then as well, obviously
Yeah.
being creative, and because it helps me as well, like being out there and speaking to people and doing what I do. But I totally agree as well what you said with, especially not slagging off the younger generation, but a lot of times like it's kind of, there is shortcuts a lot, you know, and everyone kind of wants to cut hair much quicker, but they also want like being in magazines, and they don't understand what people had to go through to get there, you know. But
Yeah, and you can feel a bit like, you know, okay, he's old school. Because
that's what they tell me
I
sometimes.
know, but it doesn't mean that you're not passing on what you think is good advice, right?
Yeah.
That's what I think. Because I wouldn't know, I wouldn't feel qualified to give someone advice on a shortcut, because I honestly don't know how you do it. You know, I
Yeah,
did
yeah,
it this
yeah.
way, and it sort of worked for me. I'm
Yeah.
not saying you can't do it quicker, but I don't know. But you know, the world's very different. I mean, I can give you 3 high-profile examples of a changing world. In Elizabeth Taylor, 1984, I phoned my mum because I didn't know who else to tell, right?
Yeah.
So I phoned my mum. My mum didn't believe me. She was still in Gravesend. She thought I was pulling her leg. That was as far as my sort of the communications I could make. And it was a landline, of course.
Yeah.
And then fast forward a bit, sort of 87, I made Madonna's wedding rings.
I was going to ask that.
That was a huge, it was like the wedding of the bloody decade, right?
That was to Guy Ritchie, right?
To Guy Ritchie, and then there was this whole different enthusiasm for what a jeweler was and what part that played.
Yeah.
I don't know many jewelers before then who'd been, you know, a double page spread in you know, the Times, Sunday Times Style magazine about this is a jeweler.
Yeah.
People didn't really know, because
Oh,
Stella
that's-
McCartney made the dress. They knew what she looked like. They didn't know what a jeweler looked like.
Yeah.
And it was literally was the last thing in, I would say, luxury.
Yeah.
People had no idea what goes on, who the people were behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So that was a different exposure
Yeah.
that I'd say changed my life. And then last year or the year before, I made Machine Gun Kelly's
Yeah.
ring for Megan Fox.
Yeah.
Arguably not a Madonna, you
Yeah.
know,
Right.
a celebrity,
Yeah.
but it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, we almost like imploded through just what happens these days when someone with a huge following,
Yeah.
because I think they had like 9 million each, and
Yeah.
and did the deed with the Stephen Webster box. It went mad, and then I think I made the ring that was the most spoke about in America for about a year,
Yeah.
because everybody knew.
But I remember I woke up and I called a friend of mine who we both know, and I said, "Oh my God, have you read about Stephen?" And she said, "Everybody
But that's
read
just
about
because-
Stephen this morning." So also when I read about you recently, more and more to get obviously prepared for all of this chat, I saw there was a lot of lots of your jewelry is based on the sea, or like blue stones. They called what? Aqua.
Well, I've got a few. There's aquamarines.
That's the one, maybe
there's
then.
blue opals.
That's the one.
Turquoise. Anything that's blue.
No, but I mean, I remember you got those lobster rings. You got
Yeah.
all of that. Where does that? Is it from Santa Barbara still?
Well, you know what? It's funny because I have a place by the sea. In fact, I've got 2 places by the sea. I feel very comfortable on the edge, right?
Yeah.
Of whatever country I'm stood on.
Yeah.
And so it's quite difficult to put your finger right on it, but it's easier for me to draw inspiration from the sea than it would be from being in the mountains or, you know, in a beautiful fields. I don't know. That doesn't do the same for me. And right now I'm making a piece, a bracelet for a woman who was, she swam for American formation dance at Olympic swimmers. You know, those amazing
One with the
women who
thing.
used
Yeah, all of. I love that.
And,
love that.
She's a real.
I hope she wears the bracelet when she does
I
it.
met her on at a wedding. I knew her husband. He was a gold miner, but he's done really well.
I mean, obviously, I know you, but also I know your jewelry. Like when I see a woman now wearing those specific rings, like the lobster, I know it's you. And I think that's what you normally only know with pieces from like very big, like the Cartier thing with the screws, or like what I wear here, that thing. So that's how did that all happen? That you suddenly like you do something for someone and then you go, oh, hold on, or the ring you're wearing. I mean, like my friend's daughters have them, and I know it's yours now. You know. So how did that come along? That you I think, oh,
Well,
that's
I think they're the results actually both of this sort of idea of becoming more confident as a designer stroke craftsperson.
yeah.
Because I think, you know, we had this moment, and it was around this time with Madonna, and the reason why I think she came to me in the first place was because I was making fine jewelry, so jewelry that people understood to be fine, made of gold and diamonds and gemstones.
Yeah.
But it didn't look like it was stuck in a place.
Right.
You know, it felt like, wow, okay, that's fine jewelry, but it's and it was definitely because of this more confident approach.
Yeah.
And so previously to that time, this ring here, which is the sex and drugs and rock and roll,
Yeah.
and my rock star ring, which is a very uncomfortable ring to wear, but it doesn't matter.
It's okay.
People will suffer for that. We're being picked up by
People would suffer for that.
You're being picked up by rock people who are, I mean, we never knew was coming in the door. I mean, literally never knew was coming in the door. And they were some of the greatest rock and roll people, you know, Elton and Ozzy Osbourne, sadly, who died a couple of months ago, who was a great client, you know, and these people, they sort of migrated towards it because that's what their aesthetic was all about. You know? And that's how, you know, Madonna came around. So a lot of guys would have looked at that and gone, wow, I wish I could pull it off, but they didn't feel they could.
Yeah, I'm the same. I don't think.
Well, I think nowadays you'll find there's people, they're more confident in themselves, especially guys, about what they can say about themselves in jewelry that didn't exist then. We're looking, 30 odd years ago.
Have you ever done like hair accessories or accessories? Sorry, I always get hair accessories, right? I always get it wrong. Like tiaras or
Yeah, I've done tiaras. Yeah, I did a couple, not many. I don't get too many, but I did a really beautiful one In fact, both of the ones I've done were very, very glamorous. A tiara, I suppose, got to really be glamorous. You can't have an understated tiara; it'd be ridiculous. But one was all my thorns, that sort of
Wow, wow, yeah, nice.
diamonds, and another one was an odd commission, and it wasn't even fine jewelry, but it was commissioned by Nadia Swarovski.
Oh, yes.
Because for many years, I think the Swarovski family company had made the tiaras for this sort of ball, the Opera Ball in Vienna, which is marks the end of the season.
Yeah.
Christ, I went. I've never been to a more camped up affair in my life. It was brilliant, and I made 175 tiaras, and
You made 107. You made your tiaras for all of those girls.
all the debutantes. They all came out in a row. We were in this stadium where they hold this gala thing, and I mean, people in Vienna, this thing's televised, right?
Oh yeah, my God! They always have like someone famous, like Tina Turner back in the days, or Diana Ross. The host takes to the
We had
balcony.
Kim Kardashian, right? So anyway, it was good.
It's all changed now.
Yeah. So anyway, there was this. The stream of them just kept coming out. They're all dressed. I think they may have had the same dresses on. I can't remember.
No, I think they have different.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
The guys are all in their sort of
Taxi,
white tie,
tail like thing.
and these bloody tiaras, which were fabulous. And they were Stephen Webster.
That is amazing.
It was
that.
a very unusual commission for me to get. But I'd known Nadia, and we'd done a few really great projects together, including making all the jewelry for Skyfall, the James Bond film.
Wow. Okay.
Which was really fun to do. So that was the other.
So you made all the jewelry the women were wearing in Skyfall, or like for one specific?
Well,
person?
it was for the Bond girl.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and it was a great commission because it's always a statement, and this.
I didn't do any of that. I thought I did my research, and I did not know any of that. I mean, that is amazing. I didn't know that.
It was. I got credit on the titles.
Really?
Yeah, it was really.
And so you should.
And we travelled around a bit. I mean, Nadia made sure we were included.
But it's also, I mean, it's so nice. For me, it's as well as a hairdresser, like doing shoots, or lucky enough, did some actresses' hair, and I did some premieres with them and all of that. And it's nice to do something out of your world, which you would normally not experience.
Yeah.
Something completely different.
And especially something like that, because you've entered a different kind of establishment.
Yeah.
I mean, the costume designer was a French woman. I mean, she was just. I mean, you could make an animated cartoon about this woman, right? She was a character and a half. She'd be smoking away, very elegant and skinny, probably only drank coffee, and that was it. And she'd been doing the outfits for like, 20 years. But she was brilliant to work with.
Yeah.
Brilliant to work with. She's totally, shared with me what the dress is for the iconic scenes in the casino. They're always in a casino.
Yeah, always.
And then I did this ring that was like a serpent, that because the dress had this embroidered into the back, this sort of serpent that was loosely part of the storyline. And
Yeah.
so I did this ring that wrapped around, I think, 3 fingers.
Wow.
So it was a pretty cool ring. And
Yeah.
the one I made, I actually had to make 3 sets of everything, and they were all black diamonds. They were pretty cool things, but it was the power of that.
Oh, it's all about.
The Bond thing, the Bond girl, that they were cool rings. I mean, I had clients calling me, why can't we get one? I said, well, it's not mine. I can't
Does Asya got
sell
one?
you it. Yeah, of course she has. But
I need to see
fair
that.
enough. Yeah.
Right, I mean, she should have one.
Well, there was a whole set. There was earrings. There was different things. There was things you made for the shower scene, but they're never quite as good, because what do you wear to a shower? But definitely the casino.
Not much. So also, I think I heard someone told me that you also created something more in a sexual way, right? Down there.
Yeah. Well, it kind of, it was quite
That was
funny.
commissioned, right? I love that story.
I've got to keep quiet about everybody, but it was
But you don't have to say any names. I
it
just.
was a big art collector, and he invited me and a friend of mine, Hannah Miller, who's an artist, and I don't think either of us knew why we were there. We just were. He's a big art collector. We'd been asked to go and see him, and And Harlan, he said to Harlan, I understand you've done a self-portrait, and I collect self-portraits of artists. And Harlan said, yeah, but it's not for sale. And then it was my turn, and he said, I'd like you to make me a dick ring. Can I say that? It's
Cock
not
ring.
live. Cock ring.
No, oh my God, yes, say it. I said cock
Yeah,
all
yeah,
the
cock
time.
ring. And I was like, okay. I mean, I tried to take it in my stride. I'd never made one before. And I'm looking around this guy's den, and he had some pretty extraordinary sex toys, some that were 200 years old.
Oh
like
my God,
Chinese.
okay.
There were some that were made by, the whale fishermen, Christ knows. They were really something. And I'm thinking to myself, there's an opportunity here. So and at the time I'd just made this collection called The 7 Deadly Sins.
Right.
And I thought they could easily be applied to
Oh my God, yeah.
cock rings. So I said, what about the 7 Deadly Sins? You've got a lot. And he went, okay, that sounds great. So probably wasn't 100% part of where we felt we were at the moment.
Yeah.
Because I think you got to commit to it. You can't
Yeah.
just say, oh, there's my cock rings. You got to kind of.
Come up with a
And
story.
also we were getting a lot of problems with my brother, who was doing all the research, was like, I've got to shut down my account. He said, I'm getting inundated with gay porn.
With all the my history and my Google history is kind of like.
It was quite funny.
But I think that's important to kind of go with it and do different things. I think lots of people are just known for one thing. And now I think you obviously just opened your new shop in Burlington Arcade, which I was lucky enough to come to the opening. And I always look around, and you've got such creative guests always. You know what I mean? So you are so. Would you consider yourself, is it quite weird to ask that, even like rock and roll? Would you be, because I would describe you, I think when I called my producer, I said, I've got Stephen Webster, who is the rock and roll jeweler. Would you think that about yourself?
I've got to go with yes.
Good.
Because
no, good. That's what you should.
I just been to, fortunate to have been a guest with some people who all of them in Marbella this weekend.
Yeah.
And of course, they all say it. So you go, what are you supposed to fight it?
No.
I'm a terrible musician, right? I gave up after 2 years of guitar lessons, knowing that I would only ever be crap.
Right.
And so why keep on,
Yeah.
But people have got the assumption. They think I must. And I'm like, well, no, but I'll be rock and roll, because why fight it?
So tell me about your new shop, Burlington Arcade, which is this stunning new shop you've got, about the toilets. I didn't make it into the shop because there were so many people, and I cannot just tell you all. Basically, Stephen came out of a window to give the welcome speech, which I thought was very rock and roll, because everyone was just like, what the fuck is he doing up there? He also gives the best speeches, by the way. So it's a talent. It is a talent.
It was my daughter's idea. It was a great move.
I love it.
Because we had 450 people in an arcade, which
Yeah.
is by nature a long, narrow space.
Yeah.
So they're spread, for about 50 meters either side. And you think, how are you going to keep this lot quiet? I'll tell you what, you get out a window on the top floor, they're quiet. You could have
Everywhere.
Yeah, I know. You could have heard of
But also, if you say silence, you go, okay, just shut up now.
That worked. And,
Yeah.
It was 2 bars, basically. It was a bar downstairs. It was basically a bar upstairs. And then what's now my office was a merchandise. And it was pretty cool. So as it was, we had to clear everything out and start again. But it had given me the inspiration. And then this one thing that was solid was the toilet. It was a gold toilet, and so
It's amazing.
they happily donated me the toilet, which I've got, which has become a sort of Instagram.
Oh my
little
gosh, yeah.
spot. People want to be photographed, usually photographing themselves on the toilet, but
Well.
it's quite cool.
I think it's so
It's
cool.
only ceramic. It's not solid gold, but it's still a gold.
Don't ruin it for me. No.
Yeah,
But I remember when you did your videos for social media and you filmed yourself, and it was a building site, and there was this perfect golden toilet as this piece behind you. I was like, this is cool. More people come even in for that reason, for the golden toilet and all of that. So
I mean, yes, they do. And I think the word of mouth is spreading. And, look, we can only seat 24 people. It's like the size of this room and that's it. But we've got record deck. I've bought a lot of my records in, but if you want to bring your own or play mine, that's the idea, and we had an event there the other night called Girls on Film, which is women in the film industry. They loved it. So I want it to be a place that you don't have to buy anything other than drink.
So what do you think you would have done if you would not become a jeweler?
Oh, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, I love that my life's taken me to places that I could never have dreamt of. At the start of the month, I was in Shanghai for a week because we have a boutique there. I was in Seoul in Korea. We have a boutique there. And then I was in Bangkok where I cut all my gemstones. And so I was in Asia for 3 weeks. You think, wow, jewelry's taken me to these places. And so that's been amazing. I love writing. So I do write quite a bit. But I don't know why I mentioned the travel other than I love what I do. But it was...
No, but also it gets you there. Like
It does. I don't know. I could never do anything that would have made me any money because I don't even make jewelry that makes me a lot of money. I would have made different jewelry if I was in it for the money.
right.
I've got a lot more out of it than that. I have a nice life. But,
Yeah.
there's other jewelers who I can see that they've made a lot more money. I don't really care. But I think it's been an extraordinary journey. And yes, if I can sit on a plane and I'm writing a poem, great. But I certainly couldn't have been a poet.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I never wanted the responsibility of even having your own salon. So many people said, oh, why do you not have your own salon and all of that? And I'm like, I think, first of all, I'm too lazy and I would fire everyone because I am quite old school with the way I like certain things to be done, which I think it's very professional and all of that. So I think I would work by myself.
Well, then that's what you should do. Because
No, I'm happy here. Like this is a nice setting and I can do what I kind of want to a certain extent and I'm very happy here. But I think what you do maybe with your development with like the bar, the carving knives, you always develop things. And for me, this is what I do now. Having a podcast was for me then something. I know I can talk and I thought, that could be something different.
Well, I'm good at delegating.
Yeah.
I mean, without a doubt.
Right.
But then, you delegate. I've got an amazing team, including family members,
Yeah.
but not exclusively, amazing team. And, my brother's an incredible jeweler. He and I work on the producing everything. And then, as you know, my wife and then my daughter who does all of our, our art direction now. And then I've got, an incredible team of whom my head designer's been with me 23 years. My managing director, I think, 22 years.
Well, that says a lot
They've been
about you.
incredible.
Yeah.
Well, they've had babies, they've come back. They, had more babies and come back. And I think we have a bit of that culture in the business, which I love that we've got that.
Yeah.
And then you've got everything you need.
Yeah.
I certainly couldn't be doing any of this on my own.
Because your daughter is doing jewelry as well.
Yeah, but she does that. I mean, was she inspired by me? I guess she was.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But she's doing her own thing, which I'm very happy about because, she wants to be a jeweler.
Right.
And I think if you come and join the family business, it can be a bit smothering, the next generation, that namely her, would have to live under the weight of what you carry. And I think she had some really good ideas in a type of business that I could help her be a jeweler.
Yeah.
And then she can take that and run. Now, she asks me every day something, right? But because why not? I'm a jeweler. But and previously, when she was studying Mandarin at university, of course, I wasn't able to help her with anything ever in her life.
But you must be happy that you can. I mean, that you can.
And, yes. And so that makes me happy. And she's not smothered. She can make her own mistakes.
You see, that's why I don't have children, because I would be like, oh my God. But listen, I mean, I could chat to you like for days, but you said that at the beginning, because I always loved your stories. Every time I bump into you, I could really just sit with you all evening and listen to, because you've got obviously. That's very true, actually. And then I was like, we're going home. No, I'm not done yet. No, I can't thank you enough for coming on here. Thank you so much. I think we all learned a lot about Stephen Webster.
Okay, well,
Thank you so much for coming.
having me.
Thank
and,
you, Stephen.
I'll look forward to series 3.
Yeah, we're gonna do just
If
a
you've got
series.
someone who doesn't turn up, I'm not far away.
Just about you. That's it. We do a Netflix series out of it. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Stephen.